One.
I was just giving the countdown.
And we got live before we went. I clicked the button and we didn't give us the 5-second countdown. It took us right to live.
I was just doing it for us.
That means
Hello.
our internet's powerful. Yeah.
Happy Wednesday evening.
It is an amazing Wednesday. And so, I mean, hey, let us know whether you're watching live, whether you're watching from the recording. And we were talking, and we are considering, and we talked about doing this at the end. I'm doing it now so I don't forget.
Yeah, might as well.
Doing trainings going forward on Wednesday night and doing them as Zoom calls. And the reason is, as Denise said, and I agree with her, that it gives y'all a chance to be seen, visible, ask questions, add chat, and be part of it.
Yeah. I also feel like it's a really great energy. Hey, AJ. Hey, Victoria.
Yeah. Victoria.
I just know sometimes, when everybody gets on, there's a really good energy that happens, and it can be contagious, and it's a little more exciting. And also, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm watching on a Facebook page or whatever, I sometimes get distracted, because it's easy to get distracted. Hi, Facebook user. Is that Stella?
Stella? Yeah, she needs to go back to StreamYard.com and then tell it to allow us to see her name again, Debbie. Because
you must have to open it up every once in a while, or refresh it every once in a while.
Yeah, so you don't need to do it all the time, but I mean, you don't need to do it now because I know who you are.
We know.
I was right over there. We know you. We see you. And if I go to Facebook, I'll be able to see your name.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I was over by Debbie's house today at the Planet Fitness, and I started to pick up the phone and call her and say, "Hey, I ought to come out and see you and Ma," but I hate just dropping in on people like that. And
wow.
Yeah. So, and there's Lori.
Hey, Laura. I have to say before we get started, because it's always good to give people a couple minutes to hop on here. Like I said to you when I got on here, that post from Del Bigtree, who, by the way, I love listening to him anyway. But wow. I mean, look, we're all in Touchstone, right? And all of us who are here know that we know what we have is great, and we know the reasons why everybody needs what we have. But to hear the statistics in the way that she outlined them in all the many regulatory agencies she went to discuss it, and all of the testing that they did, it was staggering. So if you haven't clicked on this and watched this, it is well worth the 40 minutes of your time to get a little education. And like I said, there are things that we maybe kind of know in a loose fashion or in general terms, but to see the statistics behind it, this isn't just hype. This is legit, real stuff, and it's scary.
Testing, third-party clinical testing.
Unbelievable.
And I love what you said. And the reason that I posted this was exactly what you said when we were talking before we went live, which is it makes you want to go out and scream PBX to the top of the world.
Oh my gosh. Honestly. I mean, PBX is definitely a solution. Obviously, you need to go to the root of the problem too and eliminate that. But even still, you need to get that stuff out of your body. And wow, I've never been so grateful for PBX, and I'm pretty grateful for it.
Yeah, and there's some great testimonials out there about people that are using it, and and even people that yeah. So it's just if even more so than what we think about a lot of times. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Anyways,
that's
so
great,
there's that.
great product that we really need to be focused on. And the fact of the matter is we need to get people, for example, they were talking about organic fruits and vegetables are one of the worst, the genetically modified crops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
And,
horrifying.
yeah. And so they were talking about, I used to be a Pizza Hut franchisee. And so we had Pizza Hut pizza. And they were saying the Pizza Hut pizza, the cheese pizza and then the cheese pizza with pepperoni were fine. They didn't have the heavy metals and toxins in it. But when you added vegetables to it, it went up dramatically the amount of toxins and heavy metals.
It's wild. Somebody's asking Facebook user, where do you find this article? It is on the Team Elevation Facebook page that we're on right now. And Alan just posted it today, right? It was today.
Yep, today. And I also posted
Amazing.
it. They may be tuning in from the Destiny Unlimited page. I put it over there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good
So if you're
work.
looking, yeah,
If you're looking for a little something to light a fire under you, yeah, for sure.
yes, it will. I mean, I started watching it. I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
me neither. I watched the whole thing right before I got on here. Amazing.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. And listen, when you go to these people's pages, there's even more stuff. There's even more stuff about the people that are jabbed, vax injured, and the toxins in that, and the heart attack. I mean, it's crazy what this guy
It's
reports on.
Yeah, I've listened to him before, and you can definitely go down a rabbit hole. He's got a lot of interesting stuff.
Yes, yes, and yeah. So Victoria, if you haven't tuned into that guy's thing, I know Victoria loves reading those articles, but it's easy to get down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, before we get started, I will say this: that it's February next month. We're almost 1 month away exactly from the mastermind in Vegas, and we hope to see each and every one of you there. It is going to be an amazing event. And if you haven't registered, get registered. Let's talk about it. Let's do whatever it takes to make sure you're there. They're giving away $25,000.
I mean, come on. But
You're going to walk
seriously,
away with money.
I mean, you do not want to miss this event. I feel like this one is going to be some kind of turning point for the company. I feel like, not that we need a turning point. We're growing like crazy, but
Yeah.
I think that this is, it's going to be magnificent. I cannot wait. Can't be here soon enough.
And
Hello from Texas.
Yeah, I went and one thing I need to order me some new Touchstone apparel to wear because I need.
Yes, I need to do that too. We
Need
got
to
to get geared up.
You got to get geared up. We got to do it now so it arrives in time.
Exactly.
Yeah, last year I was waiting, and then I had to have them ship it overnight. Like
I did the same thing. Yeah.
So a reminder for that, and yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, which is we're talking about
Talking.
yeah, we're talking about talking. I love it. I love it. And so when you're talking about talking, we're talking about mastering every conversation. And it said I forget what the thing said before, but Denise made it clear that we need to talk about for the rest of us, for all of us,
Yeah, it said mastering the conversation for those who are, now I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, oh, it's only for those people.
Yes, it said for the socially awkward.
Yeah.
And yeah, not everybody's social, but so that socially awkward for all of us. All of us
And the
need
rest of us.
how to do and see the conversations we're talking about is the core system that we teach in this business. And listen, if you just master these steps, these are the income producing activities that will grow your business. And that is to connect with people, to invite people to take a look at the opportunity, to share a tool, and we've got the best tools in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
video, link, whatever, follow up at a predetermined time, enroll them, and then teach them to do the same thing. If you keep this business this simple, this is this is what the income this is these are the income producing activities that will make you money. And so
Yep.
what we're talking about today is the connect part and the invite part, with the conversations. Yeah.
Yes.
And so the big three, you know, you got to get yourself ready for a conversation. So if I was going to call Denise, and Denise and I talk all the time, but I remember years ago when I was building and I was growing and my team was growing, and I'm the type person, and I have, and you'll think, really, because I've learned that my mentor said to me, Alan, you don't always answer the phone and don't always take calls. You shouldn't do that. And I said, why? He said, because you might not be in the mood, you might not be in a position, you might not be in a place, you might not be in the environment where you should be talking to someone. You're not ready
Mm-hmm.
for the conversation.
Yes.
If I contact somebody and say, hey, I'd love to catch up, and they call me, and as you know, Denise, I mean, Denise has a crazy schedule as well. If I'm not mentally prepared, or I might be at a ball game, I might be at the gym working out. I think you called me today when I was at the gym.
Yeah.
It's noisy,
Yes.
and I feel anxiety because I want to talk to you, but I don't really need to talk to you, and I don't want to have the noise. So you got to get yourself mentally prepared for the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pump
You don't
yourself.
want to. And if you are the one that's making the call,
Yep.
you want to be mentally prepared as well. You don't want to do it while you're jamming it in between two things, thinking it's only going to be 5 minutes. Because what if it's longer? What if they have questions? Like, you have to be prepared for that, or it could potentially be a bad
It
situation.
could, it could go off the rails real quick,
It could.
because they feel like, I mean, they see, here's the thing, they feel what you feel. So I like to say, when I'm making phone calls or I'm making connections, I get up, I don't sit in a chair, I don't slouch in a chair, and I smile while I'm talking.
Yes.
I'm
You know what?
enthusiastic.
That is a great point, Alan. And years ago, when I was first new in this business, I sometimes put a mirror on my desk
I like that.
because it is different. Like, when you're smiling, when you're talking to somebody, they know it. They can
Mm-hmm.
tell. And so sometimes if you catch yourself not smiling, that's a quick reminder. When you take a peek and you see a grouchy face, like, that's a quick, like, hey, you better step up your game.
Yeah. 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 And so it's so important, the environment you're in, the mood you're in, the attitude you're in. And that's why I like to schedule. We say talk to them at a predetermined time so you can get yourself mentally and emotionally prepared. Make sure you're in the right environment. Make sure you're not, and so when I talk to people, though, I'll always say, if they have kids or they're in an environment where they're not, if I'm talking to a prospect, I'll say, hey, listen, don't worry about that. No, so
Yep.
you make the call about them, and you can help them relax, especially if they have kids or they have stuff going on. Hey, don't worry
Yeah.
about that. One of the things we do with this business is we're able to work from home. So put them at ease.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking to Denise, I want to make the call about Denise. I want to make her feel comfortable, her feel relaxed, and not put any pressure on her,
Yes.
and ask questions, and then be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And be,
Making the call about them is a key point, because I think sometimes in this industry, people make the mistake of feeling like they have to push out all of this information. And I'm going to tell you who I am and why I'm here and what I've done and da 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 da. Oh, okay. Like, that is not real helpful on the other end of the phone.
no. No, because and you want to be enthusiastic, but yeah, that's where we talk about this is the golden law of talking to people. You know, you want to be able to may have a relaxed conversation, but you see number four says listening at least 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
talk to them as if they're a friend.
Yes.
You know,
That makes a big difference because really at the end of the day, isn't everybody a friend? I mean, what we're trying to do is help people with product, with the business. We're trying to build people up. We're trying to empower them to create an income stream for themselves
yep.
and improve their health. And
Hmm.
so in my head, they're all friends. And you do talk to people differently if they're friends. You don't want to think of that person. I know we use the word prospect, but we don't want to think of them as a target.
That's a good
They're a
point.
human being that we are trying to help. And
Hmm.
I think sometimes if you get yourself in that mindset, it is helpful, and it does. You do use different verbiage and words that are a little bit more. I don't know what the word I want is. They're not
Well,
offensive, or
no,
they don't feel like they're being talked at.
you want to edify them and make the conversation about them, but it's so much easier to recruit a friend, people you know.
Mhm.
When I
It
do
is.
three-way calls for people, I'm getting on a call with somebody they have talked to and met, and sometimes they know, but I've never met them. And I'll always say, hey, if they have social media, send me a link because this goes back to preparing for the call. I look at their Facebook page, and if I'm doing a three-way call, I have their page pulled up while I'm talking to them so I can say, you know, here's the first thing I always say is tell me about yourself.
Yes,
People like talking about themselves.
they do
And
indeed.
yeah, and you can elaborate that on that, you know. And see if I was talking to Denise, and those of you who've been following Denise know that her son was in ICU for 10 days, right?
Yeah, 14 actually.
14 days, 2 weeks. So if I
Mhm.
was if I was talking to her and I had looked at her Facebook page and I saw that and watched her video, I could say, "Oh, and listen, by the way, how's Nick doing? How's your son doing?"
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what that does immediately? When you ask somebody about something like that, it makes them feel like you care. Like,
Yes.
oh, that's so kind of you to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It all of a sudden it puts them at ease.
Hmm.
And then when they start talking, listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. That's huge in any conversation, whether it
That is
be
huge.
a relationship conversation with your spouse or your whatever, your family, your children, is most people in a conversation have before the person has finished their conversation 50% through, in their mind they're already thinking of the response they're going to give versus listening to the entire statement that they make. Allow yourself a couple of seconds afterwards to pause. A pause is important, and let them talk as long as they want.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
three-way calls with people and said, "Hey, you're ready to get started," and the person that I sat on the call said, "You didn't really tell them anything about the opportunity in business." And I said, "Yeah, but they said they're ready to get started."
It's true. Lori's commenting a personal touch. And that is exactly what it is, because this is a personal business. We're not numbers and, you know,
Right.
recruits. We're human beings. So,
That's
yeah. And I do the listen to understand, not to respond. That really is a big one, because a lot of times I know I've been in the situation where someone's asking me questions. I was just in it because this is how it goes at the hospital. Some of the doctors, they ask you questions, but the words are scarcely out of my mouth, and they're talking right over top of me because they're assuming what I'm going to say, and then they're saying something else, and it's assaulting almost. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't give you a warm fuzzy, let me put it that way, and you feel like you're not heard, which,
Yes.
in a situation, if you're trying to share this opportunity with somebody, that is
Yes.
definitely not going to be helping you out.
At all.
No.
At all. And because, and we say this all the time, people do business with people that they know, trust, and like.
Yeah.
And so on your connection call, or in your call where you're going to decide whether you're going to invite them or take a look at the opportunity, you've got somewhere, most calls last between 4 and 8 minutes. So think about this. You've got between 4 and 8 minutes. Let's just call it an average of 6 minutes to get that person. Now, listen, see, not to know you is not to know everything about you and how successful you are and your goals and what you're doing. No, see, when you allow them to talk and get to know you, and when I say, hey, oh, just by the way, Denise, how's Nick doing? I know he was in the hospital and he's home now. How's that going?
Yeah.
Now you feel like that we know each other.
Yes.
And so you've got to be able to build trust. And guess what? You said it earlier. That shows that person, or she said personal touch. You know, and don't you like somebody that shows interest in you?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've had people say to me before, because the know, like, and trust thing I used to train on all the time, and it seems like common knowledge, but I've had people say to me, yeah, but if it's a total stranger, how are they going to know, like, and trust you in one conversation?
Yeah,
It can happen. And it's
yeah,
very easy to happen if you follow those kind of rules. If you're listening, if you're sometimes reflecting back what they've said. What I hear you saying, Alan, is,
mm-hmm.
you could really, some extra income could really impact your life in a significant way because XYZ. And also, I um, I like to look for things, um, that you might be able to have in common with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody says, I'm from uh, Texas. Somebody on here said, hello from Texas. And I'd say, oh, whereabouts? I know some people in Texas. My brother used to live in Dallas. I have a friend of mine in Houston and a friend in Austin. Sometimes, I've heard that called building a bridge, and it makes somebody feel like they know you
Mm-hmm.
when you're total strangers and you're trying to share information, and it puts them in a more comfortable position, which makes them a
Right.
little less defensive.
And they feel like they can trust you when you build that bridge
Yes.
to make that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. So important. I flew back with these two ladies. I don't even know where I was flying to or from. I've forgotten. But you mentioned Texas, made me think about that. One of them was she was a college coach, basketball coach. The other one was I forget what business she was in, but she was in the medical business. And I sat in the middle seat, which I normally don't like to do, but I did, and just because it was the last seat available on the plane. But so I sat and talked back and forth to these ladies, blah blah blah, and we talked, and I barely spoke much about myself, but both these ladies, one, and I sent samples home with them because they did say, "What do I do?" And I said, here's what I do, and I'll send you some information if you want to." And then I went back to talking about them and college sports and nutrition and what she was doing, and she traveled all the time, and she was, golly, it's so tiring to travel, and oh, I know how that is. And so 90% of the conversation was about these two ladies, but both these ladies ended up ordering product.
Yeah. And you know why? I, like, because you had patience.
Yes.
And we all get really excited, right? Because we're pretty fired up about what we do. And honestly, we have something really special here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes we are so fired up about it. If somebody on the plane asks what we do or they have an issue that we can help with, all of a sudden it's like the door opens and you're like, oh, and we got this, and then it's a barrage of things, and they're like, whoa. But I think when you just dangle a few things out there and then you didn't get impatient about it. You then talk to them about themselves and other things that they were discussing before, and then it circles back. It will naturally circle back, and you can mention some more. And then it's not so abrasive to people, like you're trying to sell them,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not. You're just trying to share what we have that we know can be impactful.
Yeah. You're building the rapport with them.
Mm-hmm.
You're building rapport. And the thing is they say, hey, this might be something you're interested in. And if not, no big deal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me send you some information. I think you'll find it interesting. I think you'll find it interesting, you know? And so, and that's what is so important in this opportunity that we have is sharing information with people. Getting, just to recap, it's all about them, getting to know them
Mm-hmm.
and building that rapport. And you don't have a lot of time to do it, but the more
No.
relaxed you are, the more relaxed you are, the more you can just have conversation, just like I was talking to a friend,
Yes.
you know, and they'll have the conversation, whether or not
And
they choose
no, go ahead.
whether or not they choose. And see, if you come at the conversation with, hey, listen, if you're interested, great. If you're not, no big deal. And I'm not going to tell somebody this. Sometimes I might tell people this that I know well. Hey, listen, I'm going to be hugely successful in this with or without you. I'd rather do it with you, but if not, no big deal. And so you may or may not say that to someone, but by thinking that they feel that
Yeah.
and they feel comfortable, that's the key. You got to build rapport and make them feel comfortable.
Right, because it takes the pressure off. Yeah.
Great point. Yeah,
Yeah.
great point. Take the pressure off. Yep,
Great.
absolutely. All right. Well, it's
Great.
11:57. We've been on here for 27
27
minutes.
minutes.
Our goal was 30 minutes, and we're right there on it. Yeah.
I love that.
And I will say this: when you read that article that is on that page, you'll want to throw up on people. You'll want to be
You,
like, "I gotta
uh,
watch this."
because it's scary and it's frightening, and we know that it's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and there's things that we can do about it, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to take, and so that reminds me of one thing before we go. I feel like if you're somebody that struggles with conversations about the business, especially, um, I want you to remember that we have something that's magnificent, and we've been blessed with it. And if we don't share, like, we have a responsibility, in my opinion, to
Mm-hmm.
share that. Whether
Mm-hmm.
that person is interested or not is totally their business. But if
Yeah.
you don't share it, they'll never know. And you'll never know whose life you could have impacted in a positive way because you kept it to yourself. That's
Exactly.
selfish in my mind.
Exactly.
So sometimes thinking of it like that helps you to be a little more confident when you're sharing, like, oh, I really need to because this is important.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't want it, it really is not a big deal. You'll tell the next person.
Right. Yeah. If you knew somebody drove around in the car and didn't wear their seatbelt, you'd say, hey, not my business, but it's a good idea to wear a seatbelt.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, thanks everybody for tuning in. And I know many of you will be watching the replay instead of the live. And it's a great week this week. We're day 7, February. So next week is Wednesday is Valentine's Day.
Aw, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine. It's also
Next Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday. It's Ash Wednesday, and it's
I know,
Valentine's.
because Easter's early. It's just mind blowing that that's coming already.
Exactly.
Hi from Indiana.
Indiana. All right, Ken,
Right.
we appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, reach out to myself, Denise, or your upline, and we're here to help. Hope you have a great night.
Good night.